Okay, so we've run our two analysis, our two locations, and we want to make some meaningful data out of that. So I'm showing you a spreadsheet, just a culmination of the four simulations that we ran. I'll just put this out of the way for a second to show you where I'm going with the final presentation. So I put on, in my case, the Denver and the New York City. I want you to pick different cities, obviously. I want to see new numbers and new analysis. But I put those spreadsheets on the Revit file that we're working in, and I built a spreadsheet so that we can look at the improvements of locating our facade facing the south. I've also included a mock-up of what our south facade looks like. So this is the build-up of the final presentation. So you know how to bring in external images. So let's take a look specifically at the spreadsheet right now. So what I've gone and done is taken the south orientation total energy and north orientation total energy, and then done the difference of those to get the energy reduction. So if you look here, I've got, these are actually data that's been input, and this is just the difference between the two. And I've used that then to generate a percentage reduction. And what we've got is that B8, the amount of energy saved, and I've done a cross multiplication and division. So this would be B8 times 1 to get what percent over. You don't really need to put the 1 in. I'm just being explicit about how that is a function of cross multiplying and dividing. So it's B8 divided by B6 gives us a 33% reduction in energy use. And on the other side of it, in our other city, we get a 24% energy reduction. And that kind of makes sense. Denver is noted for being a sunnier location that can take good advantage of solar insolation. So this is a chart. I then make a snippet of it, and I'll just go through that as a task, and then save that, of course. Save that with a name so that it can then be imported into our spreadsheet. So now if you're still not clear on where this data is coming from, this total energy, let's go back and take a look on our data that we've imported from Revit. So I'll close this off, and I'll just zoom in here, and I'll move this over so that we can see it. So we have total energy in that location, south exposure, total energy, north exposure, and you can see that's 11 and 17, let's say. And if I flip back to our spreadsheet, you can see that's those numbers there. And then if we went down and looked at our New York City spreadsheet, we would find this 12.48, 16.51 total energy, and those are the same numbers that I put onto this spreadsheet. So this is just a matter of a nice consolidated way of reporting it. Like I say, you'll have two different cities that you're doing analysis of, and the idea is to do some evaluation and write a little bit of a additional comment. I'll cover that again in another clip coming up. So once again, to take a look at the bigger picture here of our sheet, there's our spreadsheet then imported with our energy reductions. And actually that went pretty quickly, so that explanation didn't take much time. So let's think about what our final sheet would want to look like. I would expect now that you've looked at two cities, this should be labeled as your model sample facade. This is your comparison, and then I'd like to see two paragraphs or so of a narrative about what you thought this evaluation in two different cities meant for energy reduction. And I can give you a little bit of verbally of kind of the thinking here. We actually saved more energy. It was more sensitive in Denver to face the facade south than it was in New York City. And I think that goes to the idea that we're in a cloudier climate with less solar energy available to contribute to heating and cooling reductions. So with that, or heating reductions specifically, but total energy goes to the idea of also contributing to lighting in that calculation. And so this idea of being able to say that it's more sensitive by a certain percentage over what it would be in New York might be part of the kind of narrative that you would have. And that might be even more significant if you pick two different cities that have radically different solar gain, solar insolation values. So I'll do one more screenshot of maybe, well, I think I'll just leave that. Let's say that this is what I would expect to see on the sheet, along with labeling and the narrative about your evaluation.